interviews coming up. Peace.
What's up, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching We Talk Weekly. You're listening to We Talk Weekly right here as we go a little something like this.
Well, I'm the A in ABC. I'm Ashley.
I'm the C in ABC. I'm Cola.
And I'm the B, Bianca.
That's what's up. Y'all heard it. Now, what does ABC stand for?
Avenues Beyond Control. Basically, we got the name from our initials, and then we just turned it into a name.
Wow. Then tell us tonight who was here.
We had Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh, Roxanne Shante, Chubb Rock, Fantastic Noise.
Red Alert.
Oh,
Wow. And real quick, because I know y'all women are busy and it was a lit show, tell us what it took to put this together.
a lot of hard work, and my back is killing me.
I second that notion.
And as you can see, we're not even dressed. So that just shows you we've been running all day.
All right, but tell everybody, are you pleased with the outcome of what all the smiles, all the people who was like appreciative that y'all brought that nostalgic back tonight?
Yes, we definitely appreciate it. We want to do it for our city, and to see the smiles on Trent residents' face is all we're doing it for.
All right, y'all. We Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lawrence, Sizzle.
And we are definitely in the house today. We have a jam-packed show for you. We got a few different interviews. We have, of course, the Sizzle in the building. We got a couple dynamic stories, but we always start with, how was your day? What's going on, Sizzle? How was your day?
Oh man, I had a busy day. You know how sometimes you have one of those days where it just seems like mentally you're more busy than you are physically. I just had one of those days. I had a lot going on, like mentally. I think just kind of preparing for a lot of stuff that I'm working on, and just getting ready for the show, of course, and doing stuff for Mom Dukes. Always gotta do stuff for Mom Dukes. I had some other plans that I was trying to get outdoors, but because I had so much going on inside the house, I just could not get outside.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally I just was like busy.
Yeah.
So I need a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need like, a couple days away, some sand between my toes, some yeah,
no doubt.
R&R.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you with that. Sometimes it's those moments where you feel like you need some space, some time to yourself, and just kind of relax, get away, as they say, disconnect, pull a plug, and get away from a lot of what's going on. And so, it's just one of those things. All right, y'all. So we're just gonna get right into it.
Wait,
God.
That was your day. You just skip right on
I
past
know,
that
right?
one, as usual.
I know.
As
It
usual.
just was super busy for me. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where, when you're moving around, you don't have any time for anything else. So my day has always been, especially on Saturday, putting some things together. And so for sure.
Yeah. You sound like you need the same thing I need, like a vacation, an ROR. I mean ROR. ROR. Ooh, Jesus, let you not need some ROR. You know what ROR is? That's a special release from prison. Jeez, I hope you never need that. Release on own recognizance. Yeah, please don't ever. That is so funny. That is so funny. It's funny and not funny, but you need some R and R.
Yeah.
So
R and
R, not ROR. You need
release
R
and recovery.
Yes,
how about that?
That.
Release and RAR.
Yes.
Release and
Yes.
recovery.
Yes.
No
exactly.
doubt. Yeah. All right. No. So was that good enough for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. All right. So we'll go into look, let me see what people talking about. They said, "What's up, peeps? What's up? What's up?" That's my
Yeah.
guy Wayne in the building. He said, "What's up, peeps?" You know, we always get some comments from the folks that's out there has been watching the show, holding us down out there and doing some good work.
Yeah,
And
and I'm
so
glad
yeah,
that you're giving them a shout out because
yeah.
it's, you know, have to shout out the
It's
people
the
that are
people.
always holding us down
The
because
people are
without
always
them, there's
important.
no us.
But see, a lot of people tend to forget that though.
True.
Right? They forget the
True.
people. You know, when we get in those policy and people in leadership, they forgot the people who put them in those positions.
Yes.
You know, and so,
Yes,
you know, I don't want to get on
absolutely.
my soapbox, but you know how I get, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
She said yes. All right. So, matter of fact, I'm about to get on some people. I got a story here. I'm about to get on some people. I did some little research, you know, and I got a little story. You know, this is something that I guess I blame you for because you're like, why don't you do another story? Why don't you do a story?
See,
I know it's all good.
All right. Well, go ahead. I'll tell you. You do your thing.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
I gotta follow up. Okay.
I'm gonna let you finish, but all right, no doubt. All right, so y'all, I want you. Hold on. I'm gonna preface this. I'm gonna intro this. I got a little video that's gonna intro this. I don't want y'all to hold on. Just hold on. I got you.
If I was to speak to the king separately from that, I would probably encourage him to return the Kohinoor diamond.
Tell me about this one.
Also from Benin, 7th century, Fula tribe, I believe.
Nah.
I beg your pardon.
It was taken by British soldiers in Benin, but it's from Wakanda, and it's made out of vibranium. Don't trip. I'm gonna take it off your hands for you.
These items aren't for sale.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price? Or did they take it like they took everything else?
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
The diamond's history. So, if Britain ever returned it, there would likely need to be a diplomatic agreement, possibly involving India and other nations connected to its history. So, for We Talk Weekly, the question is simple. When history is taken, who has the responsibility to give it back?
Wow. That right there is powerful. And shout out to Mom Donnie.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I hear stuff like that, it just kind of like, it just makes me so mad because so many things and, you know, it just goes back to where these things come from,
Yeah.
and other things that have been taken, like from, from the motherland, and those things are sitting in museums,
That's right.
and people are paying money, and these
To
museums
see
have
stolen
profited.
artifacts from the colonizer, as they say, right? And so it's just one of those things. So again, who has the responsibility to give it back or to claim it, place claim, which was interesting why I played that little clip from Killmonger saying, hey, I'm gonna take that off your hands. How can you get mad at that when you took it off somebody else's hands and you're
Exactly.
getting profitable or proceeds from it? So yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm, mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That was an awesome story.
Oh,
And then what I
gosh.
would say is, I'm glad you're doing that, because you've been doing that, and bringing awareness to
Yeah.
stuff like that is just, kudos to you.
Okay.
So
I
even
hear you.
though your arm was twisted,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
it's
Lawrence
just-
says, doing a story. That just happened to pop up. Because let me tell you, Mom, Donnie is playing his part over there. Right?
yeah.
Like him or love him, I know there is change.
I
And
like
that's the thing. When you start to see change, you get people galvanized to make some more changes,
Mhm.
changes that will affect
Yeah.
the community directly. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we have a dynamic interview that's coming. I'm super excited about this young lady. When you talk about galvanizing the folks, when you talk about, speaking for the people, when you talk about not pulling back, which is the reason why we have her on this show today. We love it. We love it. We love it. So no going anywhere. We'll be right back, y'all.
What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.
We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lawrence.
And you already know what time it is. Why don't you let us know who do we have today?
Yes, so we are in for a treat, because we have this amazing superwoman here. We have the beautiful Miss Inella Ray. She is an advocate, educator, and strategist focused on advancing equality for children and families. She is the director of parent advocacy and engagement at Children First, where she leads parent empowerment for change and parent-led initiative driving education policy reform across Philadelphia and Southeast Pennsylvania. Under her leadership, parent advocates have helped secure more than $200 million in new investments for public schools and expanding access to early childhood education.
Yeah.
She is a graduate of Temple University.
Woo-hoo,
She also,
TU.
yes,
The
TU
owls
is in
are
the
everywhere.
building
Shout out to
today.
TU, for sure.
And she also holds a master's from Harvard Graduate School of Education, where she received the Intellectual Contribution Award. So let's give a huge We Talk Weekly warm welcome to Miss Inella Ray.
Hey, how are you?
The owls are in the building.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. How are you, my sister? We usually start with how was your day? So how was your day? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. It's been a very long week. A very, very long week. So I'm glad it's the weekend where I get to do this and talk. But it's been busy. And we need to do the self-care. And so I've been trying to pour in myself today.
Okay.
Spent a good amount of time with my mom. And
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom.
Yeah.
And so it's been lovely to have a chance to just settle.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into your full background and some of the things that you're doing, I just want to put this in context in the reason why you're on the show. I remember Lauren actually had the privilege and opportunity to see you prior to when I had the opportunity to see you. And one thing that stood out for us was how unapologetic you are when speaking up for the people. And that stood out for me. And so I said, we have to have this sister come to the show. Now, normally I wouldn't do a cold approach and I try to email you and this. I said, oh no, I'm not letting you go nowhere. So sis, I have to have you on the show. And you said, sure, no problem. And you was excited to do that. So thanks for that. And thanks for coming to the show. So let's back up, because I have to know, right, kind of your voyage or your travels through Temple U, and what kind of encouraged you to proceed and pursue more education based, especially was it Harvard education?
Yes.
Amazing. And then now to be so outspoken to your advocacy and speaking up for the folks.
Yeah. So I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised. West Philadelphia in the house.
Shout out to West Philly. Shout out to West Philly.
So for me, prior to getting to Temple, I had all these different experiences where I would say I kind of learned the things that we were talking about in college, but I had the lived experience first. And so what made me go to Temple and study economics is because I was really curious about why folks in my neighborhood were staying in our neighborhood. And what I meant by that is that it's like we have this vicious cycle of, if you grew up here, you stayed here and you went nowhere else. And at a very young age, my grandmother always told me that education was something no one could ever take away from you.
Right.
At the time, I didn't know what that meant. But what I did know is that I ought to listen to my grandmother, which I did. And what became very clear is that Temple politicized me. So growing up in Philly, I was seeing all these different things, but I didn't have the language for the thing. And so when I got to Temple, being in North Philly, which you all know is a place of civil rights, a place of protest, organizing. And so I learned so much more, Temple University, outside the classroom than I did within it. And that came through being a part of things like Black Student Union, the NAACP, National Council of Negro Women. Then, I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes. And so by doing all of that, you see the history of Black tradition, right? Of us having to always organize for changing our basic conditions and material needs. And so I come from that tradition. And so I know it's really important for me to realize that how I got to where I am was not because I was special, right?
It had special, my sister.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes. But I think that there's this vein that we only have, this whole idea of talented 10th, right? That there's only some of us who are talented. And I believe that we're all talented, but all of us don't have the conditions we need to succeed. So that's why I'm dedicating my life to making sure those conditions are enabled for everyone who comes from communities like mine to either have the journey that's similar to mine or something else, whatever their wildest dreams are. But I know that a lot of ways the folks who are in seats of power need to be pushed to do the things that are actually in the interest of the people. And so I think I was granted this calling to really exercise on the behalf of others. And I never tell people that I'm speaking, a voice for the voiceless. Because one, everybody has a voice, right? It's who gets listened to, right? And so I'm always trying to think about how do we situate ourselves to move those and influence those who actually have the power to change our lives.
So what was the answer to that? Did you come up with the answer?
I'm still trying
$1 million answer, right? That's the $1 million answer.
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I will say that values is really important. I think it's important to have increasing clarity around what's important to you. And so when I think about my values, I think about justice. I think about truth. I think about love, all these different things that are guiding me. And so if I am actually having integrity to those values, then it makes it very easy about how to show up. Right. And so, and the work that I do, I work directly with folks who are raising children. Right. And they are experiencing how systems are falling short. And so they keep me in alignment with my integrity, right? They'll let me know, I don't think that's the right way to be thinking about that, right? Or listen to this, right? And so I think a lot of what I'm doing is more listening than talking.
So you have Temple University.
Yeah.
Now you graduate from Temple. What
Yeah.
made you say, you know what, I need to go to Harvard now? I need to pursue bigger education or more education to do what I do. Yeah.
So when I first left Temple, I had an economics major, and I did that through the business school. So I was qualified to go to like companies to work. And so homegirl needed a job, homegirl being me. And so I went the Fortune 500 route. I hated my life. It was like a year and a half later, and I started doing work in Newark with young people on a volunteer basis. And I was like, this is what I ought to be doing full time. And so I left that job. Everybody thought I was crazy because I had a good job, right? My parents like, you got benefits, you got this. What you trying to help the kids for? You need to help yourself. And so, I took a leap of faith and I went into education, and now I'm kind of like doing more systems level work, both within education, but also other things that touch the lives of children and families. And so fast forward to like, when it came down to like, do I need to go get more education? I'm like, this work is too important not to be actually skilled up in what you're trying to do. We have a lot of people in a lot of positions with a whole lot of incompetence. And so it was really important.
Hold on. Applause for that. That went over a few people's head. I had to just,
Yes.
And so it was really important for me to have both the lived experience, the professional experience, but also the technical knowledge. And quite frankly, I mean, I think you all know that we live in a society where people pay attention to credentials, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. And so I know that going to Harvard would give me a certain license to say things.
That's heavy.
Right?
Heavy.
Right?
Strategy. Love it.
Yeah.
And that makes me think also that, as a Black woman, that's something that we have to do.
Right.
And it's because we have to kind of go above and beyond 100%. Where somebody can come in that, our non-minority counterparts can come in and just be mediocre, and not need those credentials, and can just be given the job or be a family member.
Right. Well, that's how power works, right?
Yes.
Right. It's not fair. But I think that's fundamentally what I'm trying to change,
Yes.
Something I was told at a very young age by teachers, mentors, was I need to work twice as hard.
Yeah.
Right. To have half of what they got. I think we all know who the other is, right?
Yeah.
And so I never want to be in a position where I have to tell another generation that. Because
Yes.
that means I wasn't doing what I needed to do to change the conditions for them to be able to just be enough in and of themselves and not having to do more. Because we're talking about wellness. Yeah. How can you be well when you're having to work twice as hard for half half of what they got? So,
but thank God for you, for AU, because in that, it decreases the person that has to come behind you and do all of that work.
Right.
So thank God for that, because then there's less, mental health issues, less burnout, less anxiety, less stress, and especially for, women of color who are trying to walk in your footsteps. So
yes, and I guess thank God for the people who came before me, right?
Even the men too, Black men.
Thank you for the hold on. Let me give a round of applause. He was mentioned for a change.
Shout out to the Black men.
It's hard out there for a pimp, just like a pimpette.
It's hard out there for us, no doubt. No doubt. And so, all right, so we in Harvard, we graduate. What was the first thing on the bucket list?
I was trying to think about what, not a role, but what was the impact that I was trying to make, right? And shout out to Dr. Scott of Harvard University, who was just he asked me that question when I was trying to talk to him about what I was trying to do after school. He was just like, what is the impact you're trying to have? And for me, it was all about trying to change the trajectory of where people who look like me and come from neighborhoods like me tend to go, not because of their, intellect, because of their lack of will, but because of the conditions of their lives. And so for me, it was really important that I was working at the preventative side of things and not the reactive side. So what could I do between 0 to 8 of a child's life in their family's lives to really move things? I mean, my dad is one of the smartest people that I know, right? But my dad also had a very tough life. He grew up in North Philadelphia, and he was at Hershey, at a point, and then came home, and then his life kind of just took certain turns in different ways. And so I was always wondering, like, what would have happened if my dad had certain interventions in his life that would have made the difference. And so I'm thinking, how can I do that for other people? Because I think if we're focused on the reactive side of policy, then we're doing this all wrong, right? We need to be focused on the preventative side. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, put more resources into the respective systems, which is why I advocate both at the city, state, and federal level. But I'm also thinking about what are the things that we already have the tools and wisdom of doing, but just need the actual resources to do that, right? And agency to do that. And so I'm also trying to, talk with philanthropy about, investing in everyday people in the community, right? Like, let's stop thinking that we need institutions to change things, right? We have people, the grandmama on the block captain.
The Miss Johnsons, I always say that.
Right?
That's right.
Those are like the communal, like, wisdom, right? And they know so much.
That's right.
Right? And they care so much. And not only do they know about the kid in front of them, but they also know about where they come from, right? And so when we think differently about how we support communities, I think we can be in a better position that everybody can fulfill their wildest dreams, but also fulfill their potential.
And how do we get this? And just thinking about that, because I love that idea, but how do we get this buy-in to that with the different dynamics when it comes to generation, especially when you have and I've seen this with corporations, especially when they all work together. You got the Gen Y, and then you have the millennials, and then you have the Gen Z, and Gen Y wants nothing to do with Gen Z, and that's just on a corporate level.
But now you got Gen Alpha.
In the Black community, how do we get this buy-in of just community, civic engagement, working together, and just we need to build something, right? So that we can rely on one another, other communities have, within the Asian community and in other communities. How do we just bridge that gap?
I think
because we had it before.
And I see microcosms of it now. I think we live in a society that teaches us to be individualistic, right? So we have to be consciously combating the idea that we can do it all ourselves, right? But I think the main thing that I've learned is humility, right? Whether or not you think folks, above you did it wrong, etc., they got more years. They got more years on this earth. So they have certain wisdom that you need to discern and listen to. And what I've found that anytime that I've been humble enough to listen to an elder, even when we differ in opinion, there's this opening where they can hear me too, right? But I also think that, the younger generations, we got to get active, right? And social media activism is one thing, but we also need to be active in person, right? So when we think about even who's at the polls in our neighborhoods, right? It's the older generation of Black women, right? How can we actually show up at things like town halls that are in our communities, right? All these different things I think are really, really important, but a lot of people don't even know their neighbors, right? You going in a house, you're not even speaking. You can't even call somebody to pick up your package because you don't know them.
Right. Oh my God.
Right. So we have to kind of get out of the silos. We got to get to a place where we can actually see each other, right? And then build together. But that comes with a deep respect of humility, but also realizing that you can't get it by yourself, right? What's the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone? But if you want to go far, go together, right? So
I love that.
Yeah.
We got to do more of that.
That's like something I always say, that, we always hear the idea of each one teach one. but that's incorrect. It's each one teach three. And the reason you do that is the first person you teach, they might forget it. The second person you teach, they might take it and run off with it. It's the third person you teach that potentially would take it and pass it throughout the generations and thing. And when I first heard that, I never forgot that, because it was like this aha moment, like, yes, that's what it is. And we have to share that. You mentioned something that was very interesting, and that was that the old idea, or I shouldn't say old, the traditional idea of what community actually was, right? There was a time where we can go to the neighbors or go down the street and, Miss Johnson, can I borrow a piece of bread? That's how it used to be, know, or you acting up down the block, come here. She'll grab you and you get a beating from your neighbor and send back in, and and you go, Mom, Miss Johnson hit me. Well, what did you do? It was like that thing. What did you do? And so I think we lost this idea, this connection of community. And I don't know what to actually blame that on. I can't put my finger on where that disconnect actually happened. But it's something that we need to get back to. And unfortunately, I don't think we will ever get back to it. I think we're in a different time now, and we have to find new ways to connect. And it may be, a digital revolution that we connect in that way, because now we're connecting with more people, right? People that we wasn't able to, So I'm always asking, especially for a platform like this, because we're solution space, right? And so what are the answers? What we seek in those questions? I mean, you went to school. That's the first thing they ask you, right? You have a thesis, your dissertation, like Research One, Research One University, right? So that it's ingrained in us and asking the question, why, right? And so we're constantly asking that question of why. And so if you were put on the stand to say, what is that solution that we can get back our connectedness with our community, what would your answer be?
Yeah, I think the first is having awareness of other people, right? I think if you just take a ride, whether it's on the train, whether you're walking down the street, everybody is connected to their phones. They're like everybody is distracted, right? We're not even aware. There's times where we will literally walk past someone who may be in help, right? So it's first, I think it's an awareness of that the world is much greater than you and your world, right? And then two, when we have that level of awareness, we then get to understand, I guess, other people's lives, and that creates to have like a deeper sense of empathy, right? And I think empathy is so good because it allows us to understand what it means to actually empathize with somebody else's situation in a way where we're moved. I think we've been so like disconnected. There's so much going on in the world, and then people are kind of just like, I gotta cut it off. I just think that we actually need to start having more human to human interactions. Like, when's the last time you spoke to a stranger and said hello or smile, right? You don't know what people are going through. I'll never forget, it was my birthday, and I was walking along the river, and like like right near the art museum, in the back. And there was this, woman who was just looking out at the water, but then she was like positioning herself to get up on top of something. And at that moment, we talked with her just around like, whatever you're going through, you can get through it, right? So it's just like these little like things where if you see people, I think is so important. And that's what poets have taught us, right? Especially poets in the Black tradition, right? Do you see me, right? Toni Morrison talks about this, right? Do you see me? And I think that in a lot of ways, all the stuff that's going on right now is a distraction from doing our work. Toni Morrison said racism is a distraction from doing our work. Right. And so I think it's both seeing people, but then also getting very clear, what are your gifts? And are you actually pouring into those gifts? And if you're not, you need to be pouring into them
Absolutely.
or finding out what they are, right?
Yeah, because you've been doing that, and you've been doing a lot of the work. And speaking of work, let's talk about your work with the school district.
Yeah.
A lot of you did a lot of innovative programs there. You increased kindergarten enrollment. And strengthen their family engagement. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of those experiences?
Absolutely. So when I being at Children First, I got to partner with the School District of Philadelphia.
So talk a little bit about Children First.
Absolutely.
For those who are listening and watching. And then sorry.
So Children First used to be called PCCY. So some people may know the organization from that. So same organization, but we underwent a name change. But in the very simplest form, we fight on the behalf of children and families in not only Philadelphia, but in Southeast PA. And by doing that, we're also fighting for all of the Commonwealth's kids. But we do that work across early childhood education, K-12 education, child health, physical and mental health, child welfare, and juvenile justice. So we're really looking at the lifespan of a child, but also all the things that really affect the conditions of how a child's life plays out, as well as the family that supports them. And so we really focus on political advocacy, right? And so that means we're meeting with folks at the city, at the state, and all the folks who are system level leaders of these different institutions. And so when we partnered with the School District of Philadelphia, they were really trying to meet this challenge of having families enroll on time into kindergarten. So most families think that as long as you sign up before Labor Day, it is all good. And what that doesn't allow is for proper planning of a school to make sure that they're ready for that child on day one, but also they have kindergarten readiness.
Yeah, because Labor Day is like next day is school.
Exactly.
So if you're signing up on Labor Day, how can you get any information on what your child needs for day one?
Right. And so parents really helped us think about what were the things you wish you would have knew a part of your process of enrolling your child, or even school selection, that we can think about in terms of piloting with certain schools that had low enrollment, to see if these strategies that parents actually came up with. And so when we think about all the different things that we did at the district, all of those different ideas came from parents. So the question becomes, how are we effectively listening to what parents are saying, right? And are we applying their wisdom and expertise to how we actually do the systems level work? And so what I thought was really beautiful about that project is because it shows when you actually listen to what parents have to say, you have results, right? And so I think we need to do a better job at writ large about listening to parents, but particularly Black parents. And Black parents from low income communities, because when people say things like parents don't care, we know that's coded language, right? And so I think it's really, really important that we understand that if people are not showing up, perhaps it's not that they don't care. Perhaps you haven't done the work necessary to get them to show up.
Yeah. Because I worked at a charter school for several years, and I remember hearing now that I've said that, I will not say, since I'm going into this, I won't say what the school name was, but I remember hearing from staff that saying oh, well, parents will show up if you take the kid's phone, or parents will show up if it's a fight and they need to get engaged in a physical fight on behalf of their child. So I didn't even think about it until are you actually doing something to get the parent out, get them engaged and get them involved?
Absolutely.
It has to be more than just sending out a letter or a phone blast, or it has to be more than that.
Absolutely. It has to start with seeing people in relationships, right? Relationships I think they're king, right? In the sense that if you actually are taking the time to get to know people, you're also going to know their stories and their needs, right? And so I remember there was this parent, I used to work at a school in Camden, and this parent would pick their child up late every day. And everybody in the administration was complaining, like, we have to stay longer because this parent had always. So I had a conversation with the parent. I was like, we're noticing a pattern, right? The after school program ends at this time. You get here sometime. And she was like, yeah, I'm waiting for the bus. Right. And I don't know how much people know about Camden, but like Camden is not, well positioned like Philadelphia is from an infrastructure in terms of public transportation. So she was like, this bus comes at this time or this time. And by the time I get off work, there are some times where I miss the bus. Once we had that conversation, I said, as long as, I'm here, your child can stay with me while I clean and break down the school, to shut it down. But what that allowed, and that parent after that, not only was hardly ever late, but I knew when she was late, it was because of that. Right. And so that, and that opens things, right? Because at some schools, that can be them open up a DHS case.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's crazy.
Right. And that could change the trajectory, not only of that family's lives, but that child's life. So I think we have to be very careful about the decisions that we make and also making assumptions, because those assumptions are not neutral, right? No. Those assumptions have political consequences for families that could last not only for that year, but throughout the course of their lives. So I think it's serious business when we're thinking about if we want to be in this work, which is why I tell people, if you're not serious about this work with children, families, and communities, you need to get out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you wouldn't have known that had you not had that conversation, had you not had the passion and concern to check on the parent first. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Kudos to you. I'll give you another round of applause real quick. You out there, doing the good work for the good folk, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about, I want to read this, and it's just the kind of intro to the next question. So this is from WHYY. Despite protests, meeting disruptions, and threats from most of Philadelphia City Council to block the vote, the city's Board of Education approved the district controversial plan to close 17 schools. Now, you were at a town hall and you had a strong opinion as it relates to the budget and, kind of like the needs and what we need to do. I would love to know your position now and what do we do going forward, because there's a lot of people who are very upset about this and believe that there could have been other means to not only raise that money, but that the ball was dropped before we even got here. And I believe that's a discussion that people are not having. And so I would love to know your position on that and where do you stand now?
Yeah. Thursday was a very tough day for the city. A very tough day. And particularly for the children, the families and communities who are impacted, not only by the 17 closures, but also these co-locations and all the schools are impacted, right? But to your point, the ball was dropped well before Thursday, right? We have had decades and decades of underfunding of our schools, particularly in this Commonwealth. And the Philadelphia School District is the largest school district within that of the Commonwealth. And we also don't have the ability to, the school board doesn't have the authority to raise property taxes. Whereas in other counties and other districts, they do have that authority. And so we're always in this, political dance of trying to figure out how much are we getting from Harrisburg? Is it enough? If it's not enough, how much does the city needs to do? And how much can the city afford to do? And so I think we're in a legacy moment right now because the choices that we either make today or don't make today are not just going to have consequences for next year, but I think we also understand what happens when people. So, for example, in the case of what's happening right now in the city, both with the school closures, but also the structural deficit, right? That if that structural deficit is not made up, there are going to be 340 school-based staff positions cut across the school district. And what we know about school positions is that they're people, right? So when we talk about relationships and importance, that a kid may not be coming to school because they want to come to school, but they come to school because that person that's there sees them, right? And so I think it's really important in this moment that all of our elected officials and all those who have the power to actually put not only resources and also bold thinking into what we do in education in this city, but that they're thinking about this as a legacy moment. Because what's going to happen is that whatever they decide, we're going to see generations of that. Because right now, what we're seeing in terms of how our children are, people say different things about the young people of today, etc. But that was indicative of all the things that happened prior to now. These were 10 years ago, are the products of what we're seeing, right?
Yeah,
so that disinvestment. So I really think it's important currently that we think boldly about what we're doing in terms of investments for children and communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to play this clip real quick.
It's really important to start from really the chronic underfunding the school district and other districts across the Commonwealth have had to weather. So a lawsuit happened, and that lawsuit confirmed that the ways in which we fund our schools are unconstitutional. And so Harrisburg had to get to work. And what that meant was that the school district of Philadelphia was $1.25 billion underfunded. And so when we think about that large number, Harrisburg was like, we can't actually close that in 1 year. So they've been working incrementally to close that gap. So the state has been working on that, and they have put a 22% down payment on that. So it's about $274 million that they put into that underfunding, which means if you're doing the math, that's about $978 million underfunding, right? $978 million we're underfunded right now. On top of that, we have close to a 350 structural deficit. Separate from that other funding. Structural deficit is coming from the ARPA funds that are now pretty much have vanished.
So you hear that sister talking, right? She's talking. I thought that just listening to that whole commentary, that dialogue that you guys were having, it just was an eye opener, and it was something that I don't believe a lot of people actually knew. And I was very disappointed, not in any of you guys, but just how many people were not there. Right. And so you will then have the community saying, well, what's going on? Or I didn't know about anything. Or what, so for me, that tells me there's a communication problem, is a disconnect there somewhere, that we are not getting that word out the way that we should. And whose responsibility is that, right? Is it the responsibility of the community to find out? Is it the responsibility for those who are giving the message, the producer? Whose responsibility is it to make sure that that message get out?
Yeah. So very good question. I think it's all of our responsibility. So I think that the community has a crucial role to play to understand how they can engage, in a public forum. We have all of our government interactions are available digitally, right? And so when we think about that, folks could watch how people vote. They can watch the different questions folks have to respective entities like the School District of Philadelphia. You can also go to a school board meeting, because when you're actually going to these meetings over time, you're also getting a better understanding of how decisions are made and also how influence happens, right? Influence doesn't happen at the last hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Influence happens over time, and it happens with relationships. And so I think it's really important that we are collectively engaged. But I think the media also has a huge role to play, right? To be the truth tellers in the room, to make sure that the facts are actually leading the conversation, that it's not respective, perspectives of people in power who are charging the narratives, right? But then I do think it's the responsibility of elected officials to create the conditions for people to participate. For example, a lot of city council public hearings, they have the budget forum, which is in the evenings. But if you're a hearing, you have to take off work to actually participate in a hearing, or have the flexibility to be there, right? So there are times when people actually want to engage, but I actually can't be off work. So I think also folks in positions of power need to think a little bit differently about how to make the government more accessible, right? So because people don't have 7 hours to sit in city council to wait to say something for 1 minute.
Yeah.
and say that your time is up. Right. So I think we have to think differently, but I think this is where social media really can be of immense value, right? People are so creative on social media, being able to take really complex information and distilling it for people in ways that people can say, oh, now I understand how all these different things connect. And these are the ways that you can show up. And I think we have to create a menu of options for people to show up. So like, maybe you can't show up and do the testimony, right? Maybe it's signing a petition. Maybe it's calling your elected official. Maybe it's actually talking to the media. There's so many different ways to engage. And I think people just have to find their lane. There's some people also who are like, I just rather collect like petition signatures. And that's like my value. And that's great. I think we all just need to find our lane and do the things that actually move the needle.
Yeah, fantastic. We're pretty much at the top of the hour, so I have to do our little time check right now. I know. Got it. So this is We Talk Weekly, After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia, 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies, After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lawrence. Isn't
it beautiful?
Inella Ray.
yeah. And we have her on the show today, and we're talking a good old talk. Did you have a question?
I did, because I know a lot of people are, I guess this decision, it has raised a lot of red flags. And basically what you had explained, people are trying to understand, like, how is this even going to happen? Like, you're saying this in theory, but how is that going to happen if there's such a huge deficit in, like, where are you going to get this money from to get all of this done? And why isn't this person contributing? And, why can't we get money from Harrisburg? Why is this entity who is self-governing and they are collecting so much money from the city and they're coming up with all these different sanctions to get more money from the city? I won't name any names, but they're coming up with these, different collaborations with, different people and different local government people. And then they're coming up with these different sanctions and things where they can get more money to have more, I guess, for them, but that doesn't really trickle into the city. And the city isn't getting any of this money like that. Like, so how are you going to get the money that you are trying to get? So they're like, the math ain't mathing.
Yeah, math ain't mathing. Yeah.
So like, what's going on? They want answers.
Yeah. I think it's really important that we don't just come out for the big moments, right? Because the 17 closures that was approved on Thursday is not effective next school year. Yeah. It's effective the following school year. So what that tells me in my organizer mind, that there's still opportunity to influence, right? Okay. And so that means we don't throw up our hands, right? That battle, was contentious on Thursday, but people have to remain engaged to still influence that process, because perhaps there are additional schools that may come off this list that was finalized, but also what's going to happen to those children? We can influence that too, but also we need to be influencing the kind of investment so we're not here 5 years later closing another 15 schools.
Yes.
Because the last time we were here was 2013.
Oh, yes. And I was working at the school that I was at and in the Germantown area. And I think one of the biggest fears was the schools that they were closing.
Yeah.
And bringing
out of all schools.
Yeah. And they closed King and
UC.
Yes, and they were talking about merging them into a school. And then we were just like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to these students? Because they're rivals.
Yeah.
And we were just so afraid. And I remember our hearts were broken. So we don't want to be here again. How do we not get here to this point again?
I think the school district of Philadelphia has to do stuff differently. And I think part of that different comes with transparency. Right. I think a lot of people, regardless of their position about the vote, the fact that vote was moved online.
Yeah, people were mad about that too.
Yes. And I think we have to look at things not only from the lens of logistical. It may be easier to have a vote online, but what is the symbolism that we're communicating by doing that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really intentional for the district as they move forward to make sure that they're actually listening. But I think part of this too is that there has to be consistent pressure, right? For them to listen. You know, Frederick Douglass said, you know, power concedes nothing without demand. Right?
You coming now? You got some bombs today. I'm trying to.
So we gotta organize, right? And I think that, like, you know, the district has said that this next year will be a transition year. All right. So who wants to be on a transition committee?
Yeah, that part.
Right?
That's a good one.
Right? I mean, one of the main things that was so devastating about the last round of closures is the increase in truancy that happened after that, right? What are we going to be doing now in this year to make sure that doesn't happen again?
No, and that's a great point, because a lot of that you're talking about. Imagine when we were coming up, two rival schools was UC and Overbrook. Can you imagine UC closing and have to come into Overbrook? What do you do at that point? And so when you talk about truancy, it's like, yo, I ain't going to school.
Oh, I'm dropping out.
Right.
I'm not going to school. And what I think is that the numbers are bigger than the people. The monies is bigger than the people. And so it becomes that it appears that I don't care about the schools. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about the community. So why should I care about the kids? Why should I care about the community? And why should I care about going out to vote? Because my vote don't count, which is something that we advocate for, especially for our young people all of the time. So how can you then say to a young person, your vote count? Meanwhile, you're kicking me out of my school and I voted for you. Or I voted for this particular party that's supposed to be supporting some of the things that I would like. So then what do you say to that young person? Because you work with young people, and I'm sure that that's always a discussion. So what do you say to young people as it relates to voting and things like this?
Yeah. So I always try to talk about voting as it being part of a larger equation of civic engagement, right? If you just do your vote, you know, doing the primaries and doing the general, in my mind, you're not doing your civic duties.
Okay.
Right? Because you're putting someone in a position to speak on the behalf of you, your interests, and your community interests. But if you're not watching what they do, right? And looking at because I don't judge a politician by what they say. I judge them by their political record.
Okay.
Right? And so if we're putting somebody in a position to be elected, and then we're saying, okay, and I'll see you, you know, next time, you know, election time, and see how you did.
Yeah.
That's not how we do anything else in society.
That's right.
Right? You just don't get hired for a job. And then people are like, all right, we're going to see how this go in 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? You have a performance review. If things are not going good, you're called into the office. Right? And so we have to continuously be vigilant.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that the federal level, there's so much stuff happening that people are getting this kind of news fatigue, right?
Yes.
And I think it's so important that people are engaged locally, right? Yes, you need to know what's happening at the federal level. Yes, you need to know what's happening in Harrisburg. But what's happening in your community?
Yes. That is so true.
I always say that.
So I think we have to be intentional about our awareness, but also for young people, also say that you all are changing the tenor of what is acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. And so as we push, right. And so, I think my, generations before me came up the generation that if you're a part of this party versus this party, then you're all right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think we have to really get very clear on what we want our politicians to do on behalf of us and holding them accountable. And then when they don't execute in alignment with what we think they should be doing, then you get them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, going back to the school board during the LimFest community conversations, where we just heard, you speak so eloquently, and I like how you broke that down.
Thank you.
There was a question raised about should board members be paid? What are your thoughts on that? Because the work that they're essentially doing for the city of Philadelphia's students and and making these decisions.
I think in absence of not being paid, then you really limit who's able to sit in these seats, right? And I don't know the exact time commitment of what it is to be on the school board, but I'm sure it is not 5 hours a month, right? I'm sure it's probably, especially in certain seasons, it's probably to the tune of maybe a full-time job, right? And so that means that you limit who's available and have that flexibility, right? Which is a class thing, right?
That's true.
Then also a time thing is a generational thing. So you'll now have more people who are either retirement or approaching retirement age, right? So you don't even allow for there to be a younger person because when we think about the nature of, and this is why I think we really have to think more critically about what are the different ways we have historically created forums for people to engage in government, and do those same systems work now, right? And so I think that perhaps the school board should be paid because it would allow other people to actually be in a position to do some of this work who wouldn't otherwise. I'm not saying they should get necessarily a salary, but I think that when you're utilizing your time and your labor for something that is significant and for the future of this city, there should be some regard, whether that's for example, is your childcare provided to the people who have kids on that board, right? Is what are, and I think sometimes folks get funny when you say things like, oh, paying people for public service, they're supposed to be doing out the kindness of their hearts. But when we think about the economics of today, right?
I just seen a $8-9 thing of eggs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's we have to also be real about if we truly want people to engage, how are we creating the conditions for engagement? For example, when I train up parents, and I use parents of anybody raising young kids, they have 2 meals if we're there longer than 3 hours together. They have childcare and they get a stipend.
That's great.
Right?
Wow.
Because then that takes a distress out of what it means to participate, right? So now I have these people here, their kids are right next door that they can see, but they can be fully present to actually learn about how power moves, and also how can I advocate not only for my child, but for all children.
Wow.
And so I think that we just have to think differently, but that also requires things like philanthropy to think differently. Right? So what are we willing to say is acceptable in a grant report? Right? And I think we have to also be diligent if we're doing this stuff, that we're also showing the impact too, right? Because it's one thing to get the money, it's another thing to show the impact of how the money is actually working. And when you're investing in people, you have to tell that story through, showing things. And so I definitely think we just have to change the conditions of engagement in a lot of ways. It's antiquated.
As we come down to the last few questions, you talk about budget and money, and I have a question as it relates to our dear mayor. One of her proposed budgets is $1 tax on the people via all rideshare.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that, and do you see that being an issue to the people, or do you see that might be a great opportunity there for raising funds?
Yeah. I want to, when I think about the structural deficit and how the mayor thought about okay, we have the structural deficit. Now, what are we going to do about it? Right. And I think that, the challenge with making sure that we're plugging this structural deficit, not just for this year, but for next year, is that we need reoccurring funds, right? So a tax is a reoccurring funding source, right? But to the point that we just made, people are hurting from a pockets perspective.
$4.75 for gas today.
Right. And so while people may fundamentally agree that our kids need to be funded and invested in, I think people are having, are contending with the idea of like, is this tax the right way to go? What I will say is that rideshare, both Uber and Lyft, don't have to pass it on to consumers.
That's true.
That's
right.
true.
Right.
I mean,
but we live in a capitalistic society, right?
I mean,
so
I mean, I see that.
Right,
I'm gonna just
right.
push back a little bit.
I'm gonna say
on
push
that.
back, push
I'm gonna
back.
push back a little bit on that because that's with everything,
Right.
I mean, you talk about the gas company, they don't have to go up so high, so they don't want to eat the cost of who would they push it to.
Right.
I think anyone who is in business do not want to eat the cost. They're going to pass it to someone. So when I hear that defense,
Yeah.
I have been staunchly against this.
Yes.
Style, staunchly against it. And the reason is because I believe there's other ways. If we were not in the position or the situations that we are in today with the rise of everything, literally we're still fighting for minimum wage.
Right.
So you're talking about, you brought up access.
Yes.
You brought up access. So now you're who are the only people generally using rideshare? People who look like us.
Yeah.
Right. And then not only
Go
that,
ahead.
not
Okay.
to cut you
No,
off,
go ahead.
but I
I'm
just
gonna let
wanted
you finish it. No, go
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
You right now. You
But
go,
I
man.
just wanted to throw this little piece in here because I heard some parents saying like they send their child to school in
Via
the Uber
rideshare.
because they
Yeah.
don't want them on the bus or the train because
Right.
of violence.
Right.
That's
right.
So
exactly
it was
my
a
point.
slap in the face
Right.
to them.
Yes.
So listen, I'm not saying this is the best proposal.
Yeah.
But it's the only one on the table right now.
Mm.
So the question is, who has the authority to create other proposals?
That part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna always push against that though. It's the people. Stop taxing the people. I have a problem with taxing I mean, they tax this again. Remember, stop using the plastic bags.
Yeah.
Guess what? Stop drinking soda.
Yeah, I be having to bring my tote bag. Okay. I'm gonna say
everywhere you go.
Yeah, the sugar tax.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about all these taxes and it get pushed to the people all the time. And then if you're talking about generating funds or revenue for the city, that's what people started doing because of the sugar tax. They start going to the county.
Yep.
So we're not getting the money who we thought that we were getting.
Right.
And so I'm very hard when it comes to PPA because I believe there is a proposal that can directly target that for monies. We're talking about schools. They just put red light cameras around the school zones because people were speeding there. Why can't, if it's directly for the schools, why can't you take $1 for every ticket there?
Right.
For some reason, I don't see any pushback against PPA that is taking money hand over fist from the citizens, and most of them look like us, from impounding the cars. Guess who can't afford to get our cars out? So they're taxing us with that. Every day, there's another block that has meters on it, taxing the people. Broad Street just got 50,000 cameras on it. Guess what? They're taxing more people. $100 a ticket, that's 50, whatever it is. It's too much. Why can't that money go to the schools? It doesn't make sense to me. Go ahead. Yep.
But this is the creative thinking that we need, right? That needs to happen in community, right? And then that thing that we're talking about, we're not just talking about it, we're actually coming up with a different alternative to the vision. But then we got to take that vision to the people who can do something with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really, really important that people are engaged.
That's right.
Right. And are doing the work necessary. And the thing is too, sometimes, elected officials have all these different areas that they're working across, right? Some have passions in certain areas, right? But you can take proposals to elected officials.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, dude, we got to do the work too.
Yeah.
Shout out to our dear mayor though, because I appreciate her vigilance in her because she'll say it, I'm unapologetic, about her doing her best for the city of Philadelphia. So I can appreciate that. I do believe that there's people out there that's already doing the work that there needs to be an ear to, because they're already doing the work and found some solutions and answers. I don't think that's considered like it should. All right. And so kind of closing out, what would be the legacy that you would love to leave for the work that you do?
Legacy question. That's big. Well, I lost a dear friend in December of this past year, Ashley Rosario. And she was such a ferocious fighter for justice. And I came across this quote by Sojourner Truth that was like, when I go home, I want to go home like a shooting star.
Hold on, I'll give you another round. You coming up with a lot of these, dropping them.
I should have had my pen.
Yeah, I know.
And so,
fantastic.
I guess I don't know what my legacy is going to be, but people remember will remember how you treat them.
That's
right? And I always want people to think about, was I real?
Yes.
Was I kind? And was I fighting for folks, like even when it meant risking myself? Right? I think that is so important. And so for me, it's just like when I'm on, my deathbed, I want to be at peace knowing that I gave it my all. So for me, it's going home like a shooting star.
You're definitely a shooting star, my sister.
Thank you.
Yes, you've been doing the work, and I appreciate your voice in fighting for us.
Thank you.
Keep up the good fight. You mentioned media, and one of the things that We Talk Weekly does is try our best to give platforms to people like you, so people can hear that.
Yeah.
Right. Hear your work. Hear the things that you do. Too often, I hate to use the word fault, but we fault legacy media for not doing some work that we know that they have the ability to do. But I believe that there's space for people like us and others in independent media to offer those lanes, right? And so we get that there's a lane for everyone. The challenge that we have oftentimes, because you mentioned how, the way that we can get out to people is the media. Oftentimes people like us get boxed out from opportunities because legacy media will be there. Right. And so when we talk about access, then that means we don't have access to give information out. Right. So there's a disconnect, some political challenges in that ecosystem. Right. And so we continue to fight that. People believe we are bigger than who we are. That's not a bad thing, good thing, indifferent, whatever. But that's the work of 3 people just doing the work. We're a small team, but we do the work.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm proud to say, and I'm proud to offer opportunities to give platform for the community and the people that's watching to allow your voice. So it's not a voice that's voiceless. It's just a voice that needs to be heard, and we give them a platform for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No,
and
thank you
so much for the work that you all are doing here. Like I said, media is a very important player, and part of shifting systems is through narrative.
Yeah.
Right. And so thank you all for doing this good righteous work and for getting in good trouble.
Yeah, there you go. Getting in good trouble. I love it.
Love some good trouble.
Give you another round of applause.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Inella Ray. Why don't you give for a young person who's watching and looking at you and like, I like her. I would love to be her one day. What would you tell that young lady who's looking at you and like, wow, this is beautiful? What would you tell her?
To be your full self. Your full self is enough. For the longest time, I thought that I had to contort and to code switch and do all these different things. All you have to do is be yourself, and however you want to show up, right? Like I'm going to wear my braids. I'm going to do the things that feel good to me. And so I think the most important thing is for people to get to know their values, to be themselves, their authentic selves, and know that they're enough as they are. And if they can't be their full selves in a room, that room isn't for you.
That's right. That's right. Fantastic. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you to go anywhere. Since we talking about those babies, we're going to play something with these babies. But I'm your boy, Charles Gregory, with the beautiful
Lawrence
and the beautiful
Inella Ray.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this, y'all.
Hi, I'm Willow Jordan with Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather.
Willie Jordan.
And G-Paw, what brings you out tonight?
Well, I'm here to discuss the importance of the election that's coming up, and important of responsibility that we have to do is get out to vote.
What is your role?
I wear many hats, but one is a community activist, and that means to keep people aware and make them informed on the issues of the day, so they can come out and make a good choice on voting for the right candidates.
What are some of the issues you see?
Housing, education, transportation. There's a lot of things. Anything that we do in our lives has to do with elections, politicians, elected officials making those decisions. The amount of time that you stay in school and the amount of days you stay in school is based on what some elected official came up with.
How important is it to vote?
It is very important. It's not just important, it's responsible. Voting is not a selfish activity. It's a selfless. You vote to help others. So as you help others, people help you, and it'll be a better world, a better city, a better country to live in.
Where do some of your beliefs come from?
Well, my belief is based on, I would first come from my home training. My parents told me the importance of civic responsibility, caring, loving, sharing, being involved, being responsible on your actions.
Is there any positive knowledge you would give to the people who don't vote?
I would tell them, if they can't come up with a reason why they should vote for themselves, come up with a reason why they should vote for someone else, for their parents, for their children, for more street lights, how they want a better community. Do it for someone else.
I'm Willow Jordan reporting from Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather, Willie Jordan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mama Near Club.
Say that again.
Mama Near Club.
Mama Near. That's a hard word. Mama Near. Can you all say that?
The Mama Near Club. I started the Mama Near Club when I was pregnant with my son. I was learning so much, and I didn't realize how many options that we had. Like growing up in the hood, options not really presented to you. You just feel like you got to follow suit with whatever people say you got to do. And as I started to do my research, I'm like, okay, a lot of people could benefit from this information that I'm researching. So I would just share all of the information that I was learning so other people can realize that they got options. It don't matter where you're from. It don't matter what your income level is. You got options.
So describe what the Mama Near Club is.
So the Mama Near Club is a club for moms that's on a mission to make their dreams a reality. A lot of times when you have kids, you feel like your world is over. And no, that's when your world just began. Because like the true blessing to your children is a mom that's fulfilled, So I don't believe in stopping your dream for anything. You got to figure out how to balance both. And I don't like to say balance, because when you think of balance, you're thinking like this, right? And you just never really steady. I like to harmonize, like see how it can all flow together. And I just think that as a mom, you don't have to stop your life. Men don't stop their life when they have kids. That's when they go harder. And I feel like we can do the same thing too. So that was that. It was just to encourage moms. You got this. Listen, you got this. You done birthed a whole human and you figured it out. That's the hardest job in the world. Nobody can tell me that. You figured that out.
Hi, I'm Ella Guanzan reporting for Youth Civic News. Today I'm just going to show you our Sunday routine on how everything goes down. So here we're on the second level at the CIC building. Here we do a lot of film productions, film programming, a lot of learning and hands-on activities. So in one of the rooms I'm about to show you is where some of the students are doing their beats, which are their stories. So right now they're researching some things and just figuring out their lines and all their fun things that they're gonna say. And then in the next room is where we're gonna film. So right now they're getting the cameras ready and all the other equipment. So when we're filmed, everything will go smoothly and perfectly. I'm Ella Guanz reporting for Youth Civic News. Back to your program.
So that is our rental improvement fund. The loans can go up to $100,000 for the properties. Okay. High overviews. Just want you to know. So if you are a small landlord, you can use this. This loan is used to help with things to keep the property healthy and safe for your tenants, such as upgrading the electrical system, storm doors and windows, new heaters, lead abatement, hardwire sprinkler systems, those kinds of things. That's what you can use this for.
Y'all, we talk weeklies after the talk of WPPM up P Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk. And that was Miss Inella Ray, who's actually out there doing a work in those streets with the good fight, giving a good fight to the people. She is one that champions fairness, that champions respect, and champions access. And so we had to have her on the show. And if you guys know anyone who you believe may be a good interview for the show, just let us know here on We Talk Weekly. You can email us at wetalkweekly@gmail.com and let us know who you like. We're all over the place. You can find us on Podmatch, Podcast. We're everywhere. So we can get the good word out to the good folks, to the good people. You ready for the Zizzle for me? But before we do that, right? I would love to know, what did you think about, Inella Ray, Miss Inella Ray?
Oh man, I think she is a powerhouse, and I saw her at the Limfest, two of the Limfest community conversations, and shout out to the Limfest because they have been having these community conversations at different places. We had the opportunity to cover the one that she was at, where she spoke on behalf of, Children First, and she talked about addressing these issues with the school closings, the budget, and all that. So she was just a powerhouse there, and she had, a wealth of knowledge, and she just was breaking everything down. If you saw or heard the clip that we just played, that was just the tip of the iceberg with all the information that she had, and it was just invaluable. It was invaluable. So, I really enjoyed her here today. I would encourage people to reach out to her. If you're a parent and you have a student, and you have questions, you're at a school and you don't know what to do, you need support, reach out to Inella Ray. Yeah, what were your thoughts?
I kind of said it.
You were saying.
Yeah, I was saying it while you was escorting her out. Allowing her to get out safely. So no, I just pretty much was saying that this we get excited when we have people like that come on the show who's extremely informed about the situation and the issues, that can speak to the situation and the issues, and has advocated to find solutions for those, right? And so having her on was a breath of fresh air. And of course, like we always say on the show, once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. So yeah. So you ready for the sizzle?
I am not, but we going. I'm just gonna say this because we gonna get through it.
I know that's right.
If you know the day that I have had, it's just been. I'm just gonna say it's been a day.
Yeah, that's all good.
So yeah. So I'm I'm just all over the place. One of the sizzle stories that I had was pretty much a lot of what we talked about, and it was the school board budget. I mean the school board closings, and we did address that. Yeah, and we'll be putting out the full interview with Inella Ray that she talked about, and it's sad to see this happening. Hopefully that she did say that this isn't going to take place until the 27-28 school year.
Yeah.
So there
I don't
is,
think a lot of people know that either, but yeah.
yeah, I don't think they realize that it's, I guess there's a gap year between the time that all of this starts. So there is going to be some time that, I guess people can still fight and advocate. So everybody who showed up at the school board meeting, this heated meeting that began at 4 p.m., it had to be stopped twice. And then it moved to virtual, which a lot of parents were mad because they wanted to see this decision made right in front of them. But because it was hostile, city council was there. A few of them, held signs, and
Isaiah Thomas. All right.
Isaiah
Thomas
Thomas was, he was there, and he was upset. Um, some other city council members were there, and they were also upset. Parents and students were there, and there was a lot of shouting and yelling, and all that was going on. And you know the board members moved to a virtual meeting where they held the decision to proceed with this.
Yeah.
So this plan calls for 17 schools to be closed, and I believe 159 of them to be modernized, but it doesn't take effect until 2027. So parents, students, please continue to show up. Please continue to advocate for and do all of the work that you've been doing, because there is change that can still happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a story. I'm actually on WHYY, and shout out to WHYY doing some good work. So you can go to WHYY.org. The name of this is called Philadelphia School Board Approved Facility Plan District to Close 17 Schools. And I just want to say, so the board members voted 6-3 in favor of Superintendent Tony Wallington. $3 billion plan to close 17 schools and modernize 169 others during a contentious meeting Thursday that went into was interrupted several times by protests led by city council. Here, I just want to go to the schools so y'all know what schools they are. All right, so you go pre-K 8, K through 8 schools is Robert Morris Elementary, Samuel Pennypacker School, John Welsh Elementary School, Laura W. Warning School. Let's see, Overbrook Elementary.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know.
I couldn't believe that one was on there.
That's
yeah, but I thought I heard that the enrollment was low there before.
It's a small school though.
Yeah.
But so interesting. Rudolph Blankenberg. Oh wow. Fittler Academics, never heard of that. These are the middle schools that's closing. General Lewis Wagner Middle School.
Wagner.
Yes.
No, I know that one.
Stetson Middle School. I never heard of that one. Warren G. Harding. I heard of Harding.
Yeah.
Middle School. William T. Tilden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Academic for middle years or Amy at Northwest. I haven't heard of that. And these are the high schools. Lankenau.
Yeah, they were upset about these high schools.
Yes,
here,
especially Paul Robeson.
Yes, I was shocked at that.
Yeah, Paul Robeson.
That's the last one.
Parkway Northwest High School, Parkway West High School, and Penn Treaty. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think there were 20 schools, right, to begin with, and then they kind of willed it down.
Shout out for 3 schools. Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's sad for any of them to be on this list.
Yeah,
it really is.
It doesn't say how many schools it started with. It just say 17.
I think I saw that on a prior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Prior one.
Yeah,
but it's really, really sad to see this happening, and I hope that something can happen over this next year to, turn this around. So, for those that showed up and those that have been fighting and advocating and doing all the work, trying to get the word out and trying to recruit people to join this movement for the schools, please continue to work. Please continue doing this work. because it can't stop. Because if it does stop, then the likelihood of this continuing and this happening in 2027 to 2028 school year
Interesting.
will
It
increase.
said multiple council members protested during the board meeting earlier that day. The legislators threatened to sue the board and block the reappointment of those who voted in favor of the plan. It said, understand, this is a quote, I believe it's from Isaiah Thomas. He said, understand what your vote will come with, Councilmember Isaiah Thomas said. Chair of Council Education Committee said Thursday morning, we will do everything in our legal power to put us in a position to sue you based on a decision and other issues that we know exist. In a statement, Thomas called for the resignation of Streeter, Andrews, Lamb, Harper, and Stern, the 5 board members confirmed by council. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
How does that make you feel? You know, I'm my son. I don't have to worry about this right now, but I do. He's not in school anymore, but as a parent, of a school age child, how does that make you feel just seeing this going on?
Yeah, that's such a shame. But just to add to your point, it said Wellington plan faced several. This is your 20. Wellington plan faced several revisions, with it initially calling for the closure of 20 schools. Critics argued that the plan would disproportionately impact Black students and move hundreds of students to lower performing schools. What we have seen over the past few weeks is this board, which is appointed by the mayor, is not responsive to the city council and not accountable to our communities, Council Member Kendra Brooks said. Interesting.
Yeah. So
that makes me think you will have more people leaving the Philadelphia school district and going to either private schools or Catholic schools.
Yeah. And then one thing that Inella, was kind of mentioning when she was here is the other issue is that the staff, like when these schools close, there's going to be staff shortage, and what are they going to do about that? What are they going to do about teachers and
How about that? I didn't even think about that, right? That's what I mean. There's so many people that will lose jobs. Hopefully they get placed really quickly, because from my understanding, there has been,
because there's already been like a teacher shortage.
That's what I'm saying. So hopefully those schools
would discourage people from even going to college for to be a teacher.
100%. Yeah.
I know. Well, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully something is done. All right. So, and you know what I forgot?
What you forgot?
Oh man, you guys can go and support We Talk Weekly News, our independent journalism, by subscribing on all major podcast platforms and follow us on all social media and stay informed and connected. So if you want to help us to expand our community-centered solutions-based reporting, you can make a donation on Cash App to $ We Talk Weekly, or you can go to PayPal by going to wetalkweekly.com, and then you can go to where it says donation, and every contribution is greatly appreciated, no matter how great or small. Yeah. So I just want to, I'm getting ready to go into, by saying the fight for civil rights and the March 7th, 1965 organized protest of 600 people who set out on a 54-mile march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, was led by a then 25-year-old John Lewis. They got out and started marching. They reached the Edmund Pettus Bridge, only to become faced with, police and men who were waving Confederate flags. And, this ultimately became what we know as Bloody Sunday. And unfortunately, leading all the way up to President Lyndon B. Johnson signing the the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Well, now we are here today. The Supreme Court, they have issued a ruling in the Louisiana versus Cali case that involves redistricting. So the U.S. Supreme Court has issued a major 63 ruling that significantly, according to experts, saying that it weakens a core provision of the Voting Rights Act that was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965, after all of the fighting on the, work that was done. And this is making it harder for voters of color to challenge political maps that they believe can be discriminatory. So this decision is shifting the legal standard. It's going to require proof of intentional discrimination rather than it just being unequal impact. And it overturns this decades of work that was done. So it stems from this Louisiana case where the court struck down a map that was created, a map that created a second majority Black district, calling it unconstitutional use of race. Now, experts are saying that the ruling could reshape political power nationwide, and it's going to allow states to it's going to allow states to redraw their district in ways that may reduce minority representation in Congress. So, though the full impact is likely to be felt in future election cycles beyond 2026, we don't know what that's going to look like. We can only, assume or, what that may look like. But critics are warning that it could limit protections for minority voters, while supporters argue that it reinforces constitutional limits on race-based decision making when it comes to voting and redistricting. So, and I thought about this, and I just thought about how a lot of people just really some people who I guess are not really understanding, because there's a lot of dynamics when it comes to redistricting, when it comes to gerrymandering and all that, and a lot of people aren't really sure like how this stuff works. And the Supreme Court, in this 6-3 decision, which was written by Justice Sam Alito, they basically had sided with a group of white voters in Louisiana who stated that the district maps within this certain area had been drawn too big. So they're saying that it relied too thin that you want to keep, kind of really going into. So there is some developments going on when it comes to the music artist, David. So authorities have said, he's been charged in connection with the death of the 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas. Investigators allege that the two of them had a relationship that began years earlier. That this teen was killed in 2025. They had discovered her remains months later in a Tesla vehicle that was tied to this artist, David. So a year passed, because that was, I believe, in around April of 2025. David was arrested in April of this month. So he is now facing serious charges, including homicide. Also, there are some new developments where he's also potentially being charged with, and this is all alleged. I'll say alleged. He's being charged with child pornography because I believe they found things in his phone when he met this young girl. She was 11 years old at the time. I don't believe they're guessing that he started a sexual relationship, intimate relationship with her when she was, I think, 13 years old. So he's facing these serious charges. The case has sparked national attention, of course, because he was on the brink of becoming this huge artist, whereas he was featured. I think he had an album that was coming out. There's a lot of the prosecution has been building this investigation, and a lot of people are saying, like, why was this taking so long for this to even come out? Why did a year go on and he's just now being charged with something after a year? So the prosecution, from what it looks like, they are building a huge case against him. So he was in court. I believe they're setting up his preliminary arraignment, and he did enter a not guilty plea. The prosecution, let me go back a little bit. So his attorney, the defense attorney, wanted to, I believe, have his case then, like, right away. But then the prosecution challenged that, and they were going to present their evidence. And then the defense attorney said, wait a minute, let's hold off on presenting the evidence. And they tried to not admit the evidence or keep the prosecution from talking about the case, the evidence that they had against this artist, David. So the judge ruled that they could not keep them from that he could not keep the prosecution from entering the evidence. There was no legal grounds for the judge to rule against the prosecution from entering this evidence. So now the evidence that the prosecution has built against David is, from what I have looked at from my legal perspective, it looks surmountable. It looks like it's just like building against him, and it's pretty heavy. And I hate to. All right, so I'm just going to give a little timeline. So basically, like, they had their relationship, David and Celeste, which began, when he knew her when she was 11 years old. They probably became intimate when they were 13. Prosecutors are alleging that it was inappropriate contact. So prosecutors do know this because they I guess they do have phone records, and they have all of this information. So they have that. So 2025 up until this alleged killing. So authorities say that the teen was killed at the artist's house. So prosecutors claim, and I'm still saying alleged, they allege that David killed her at his house. It was a violent attack. An autopsy was done, and what the medical examiner found was that there were puncture wounds on the victim's stomach that was a little bit different from the other stuff that they found, which I'll get to in a second. So after the incident, investigators allege that he purchased tools and materials consistent with disposing of a body shortly after this, and I'm going to say child because she was 14 years old, shortly after she was killed. So some of the purchased tools that they found was a child's swimming pool. They said that he ordered, prosecution is saying that he ordered a shovel off of Postmates and had it delivered to his home under another individual's name. They found a burn cage. And they also found
Hold on, a bird cage?
burn, B-U-R-N.
Burn cage. Okay.
Something that you would burn something in, like
Oh,
a
got
little
you.
cage
Okay,
to
okay.
burn something in. I guess like a little cage, incinerator cage
Yeah.
or something like that. I guess that is that what you would call it? I don't know. But a BURN cage. They found that, and they found a chainsaw. And they also said that the body was discovered months after he had. So I'll go back again. So the prosecutors found, based on phone records from Celeste Rivas's phone, they tracked a call or text messages where he had an Uber sent from her home to his home, and I forget the amount of time that it took for the Uber to get from her home to his home, but it was a very long time. And this girl had been running away from her house over the years. She had been running away to be with him. And then I guess at some point, closer to the time when she was killed, they had gotten into a heated argument, I believe the day before, because he started dating or seeing other girls, and she was getting upset, and she threatened to expose their relationship. And he's getting into the height of his career when he's getting ready to, his album's getting ready to come out. He's getting ready to, I guess, like explode as an artist, and he's already like doing radio shows. He's doing interviews and all that. One of his I guess songs or instrumentals or collaborations, I forget what it was used on Fortnite. So this tells you how big this guy was getting. So she threatens to expose this relationship. So what this could do to his career. So then the next day he has an Uber sent from her house to his house. So the prosecutors were trying to line up the timeline from the messages between her and him. And they believe that he's trying to establish an alibi because you can see the text messages and like the time that she leaves her house and gets to his house in an Uber. And I think literally from what they're alleging is that when she gets there, they believe that she's killed immediately from the time that she gets to the house. That, he stabs her with an object.
Wow.
And then he watches her bleed out.
Jesus.
And just leaves her there. And then he leaves the house and he drives away somewhere. And I forget the area where they said that he drives to. But then he's texting her phone and he's like, "Where are you? What time are you getting here?" And they believe that he's doing this. They're alleging he's doing this to establish an alibi. So the area that he left from his house where they're alleging that he killed her and drove to, they're saying that he stayed there for some hours, and they believe that he's getting rid of evidence that he got from her when she got to the house. I don't know if it may be items that she bought there, whatever the evidence was. I don't have that information right with me. So after that, he goes back to his house, and not to his house. He goes straight to a radio interview that next morning. He does the interview, and then I think he sends another text to her phone, and he's like, "Where are you?" and something. And then I believe the prosecutors allege that there's either one or two more text messages to her phone, And then you know that apparently she goes missing for quite some time, and then there's no more communication from him to her. So there, people that are weighing in on this are just like, if she's missing for all this time, why isn't he trying to reach out to her? And that's something that the prosecution would be asking, on this case during trial. Why isn't he trying to reach out to her after he knows that she's missing? Like, if he's so concerned about her whereabouts, like, why isn't he trying to continue to call her, and she's missing for quite some time? And eventually they found her remains in the Tesla that was linked to him months later. And then by April 2026, all of that was April 2025 of last year, I believe. But April 2026, he is arrested. Police took him into custody roughly 7 months after the remains were found. And this is like the biggest turning point in the case. So he's charged with first-degree murder and additional serious charges. But the prosecutors have been building this evidence in this case against him over these last, I guess last 7 months, since year to 7 months or however long they've been doing that. But he has pled not guilty, and, he's presumed innocent until he's proven guilty. But they've interviewed him, because I think they did interview him before. I can't remember. But they interviewed him, and then he tried to say that he thought that she was 18. And at some point he thought that she was 18. So it's just horrific. Because I think initially everybody, when everybody knew that her body was found and it was in his car, everybody just knew that there was a connection. But to know this is what happened to her, because this was never revealed. From my understanding, the details of this horrific, murder was never revealed. And my heart and prayers are, with the family. It's horrible, and this is such a tragedy. And for her to be that young, it just raises some major concerns and questions, oh gosh. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if he did this, I hope justice is served. But yeah, so I hated to report on that, and yeah. Yeah, but guess what?
What?
I got one more.
Can I say something real quick?
What? You gonna let me finish?
No, real quick though.
Yes.
6 is 1.
What?
6
they
is
did
one.
win.
They won game
They
7.
broke the curse.
Wow.
They broke the curse.
The Sixers won. Shout out to the Sixers.
They broke the curse.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Wow. I would love to see. I would love to see. Can you pull up Allen Iverson? Go to his Instagram. I know he's like somewhere saying or doing something. Shout out to the Sixers. And I think a lot of people were kind of like going into this thinking like, yeah, it's just a wrap.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I had a conversation with my son, I think earlier today, and he treated my dad to, him and his friend Kwamir treated my dad to the game 6.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was so cute and nice because they took him out and he had a nice time and they won. So when I found out he went and they won, I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. At least he got to go and that was a nice treat for him and they had a good time. And I was asking my son about the game, and we were talking about it. And then I said, well, did the game seem like it was real? Like, because you know how in my mind, I'm such a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, was the game, did the game seem like it was rigged? Or because you know how sometimes like they'll let it play out instead of it just being like a, you know, like a sweep and then it's over, because it's in the benefit of these organizations to keep it going, right? More ticket sales, more money for the for the companies, for the organizations, you know, and all that. And not only this too, this is what my son said. He was like, yeah, you know what, Mom, I was sitting there watching, and he was like, they had the bets going up. It's more money for betting too when these games continue. So I was like, did it seem like it was like rigged to keep it going? And it goes to a game 7, and then he was like, Mom, it did kind of seem like that. He said, because at one point the game was like they were up by like almost 10 or 8 or 10. And then the bet was like, how much do you think they're going to win? And I think they had a screen up, and I guess people were betting on it or whatever the case was. And then all of a sudden the score dwindled down. He was like, and I know people were mad that they lost that bet. I was like, wow.
So that's crazy. So interesting. So we beat the Celtics.
Unbelievable.
Number two.
When was the last time that they beat them? Because they said it was a long time. It was a long time ago.
That's crazy. So
Well, how many years was it?
Who do we play next? I don't know. It doesn't say. That's crazy.
Because I heard somebody saying that we haven't beaten them in the playoffs since it's a rivalry. The last time we beat them.
Well, it don't matter no more.
Yeah.
Goodbye. That's funny.
Nah.
I know, right? Shout out to the Sixers, man. Live and direct. Game 7, they beat Game 7. And so who do we play next? We play the Knicks? No, I think we'll play whoever win, right? Geez, that's wow.
Yeah, so the Sixers, let me see. So this says something in the 1966 season, the Sixers looked poised to end the Boston 7-year reign as NBA champions. Philadelphia won this regular season series against Boston 6-4 and finished 55-25 to beat out the Celtics by 1 game and win the number 1 seed in the Eastern Division. Chamberlain also won the MVP over Russell, who had won 3 of the previous 4 awards. When they met in the conference championship, however, Boston defeated Philadelphia 4-1 and went on to win their 8th straight NBA championship.
Do it this time.
Well, the next year, the Sixers brought in Alex Hannum as head coach. Hannum had also coached the Bob Pettit led St. Louis Hawks to the 1958 NBA championship. The last year someone had defeated the Celtics in the championship. Well, the Sixers went on to then NBA record 68-13, while the Boston Celtics were 60-21 in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Sixers overpowered Boston, beating them 5 games and ending Boston's 8-year reign as NBA champions. So is that the year? So the 1966-67, is that the year that they? Any comments? Anybody commenting?
No, no. Wow.
Well, hey, we got them this year, so we ended a long reign of them not beating us. Of them beating us. So,
wow! Shout out to the Sixers, 109-100.
Yes,
Philadelphia 76ers in Game 7.
Jeez,
That's wild. All right, no doubt.
All right. That's exciting. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So, I'll just close out with this because this is funny because this has a little bit of NBA in it. Well, Meg the Stallion, she went public with her breakup with Clay.
Hold on. Hold on. One
With
second.
Klay
One second.
Thompson.
Hold on. I got something special for that. Hold on.
You people must be idiots. What are you doing? Are you people out of your mind? Are you just dull with it? You people must be idiots. What are you doing?
Oh my God. Oh
All right.
God. Let's take this.
I'm gonna be short. Well, she went public with this little breakup or whatever. So and then she posted something to her IG story saying, cheating had me around your whole family playing house, got cold feet, holding you down through all your horrible mood swings and treatment towards me during your basketball season. Now you don't know if you could be monogamous. I need a real break after this one. Bye, y'all. So she posted that. So after she posted that, then she does a public statement. She does a statement and said, I made the decision to end my relationship with Klay. Trust, fidelity and respect are non-negotiable for me in a relationship. And when those values are compromised, there's no real path forward. I'm taking this time to prioritize myself and move ahead with peace and clarity. Well, there was an NBA player, a WNBA player, who was getting a lot of smoke as the one who was the one that he cheated with. So that WNBA player started speaking out after becoming the target of this rumor, and she says this is completely false. This was Lexi Brown. You get on my nerves. So Lexi Brown says she's been dealing with the online harassment and even threats after being linked to a high-profile celebrity breakup like this one. So she's calling this stuff out. And she says she would just staying silent. This isn't, now she got to speak up. So she said so basically this situation highlights how quickly this misinformation online could just get turned around and all that. But who do y'all believe? Do y'all really think that he was messing around with her, or do you think that? Because this is like, I know you don't care. I know you don't care. I know you was about to say that. I don't care. But I also had another question too. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people were coming to Meg's defense.
Oh gosh.
And it was mainly like her, because you know how like
Meg Hoff.
Yes, I was trying to think of their names. I know like Cardi B got her fans.
I'm a Cardi B fan.
Beyonce got hers.
I like Beyonce.
They got the Beehive. Yeah. Nicki Minaj got the Barbs. And then Meg got something, because I know she do the Hot Girl Summer, but I don't know like I can't remember what their names are.
The Meggies, the Meglets. But let me look them up.
So what do you think about this? And this is my last point, and I'm done.
You people must be.
You hold me out. So somebody tweeted out saying, attention all hot girls. That's what it is. Hot girls.
The hot girls.
Attention all hot girls. We will all be cheating on our men tonight from Meg. Even when you lead a man to water, he will not drink. Cheat first. So there's
you people must be idiots. What are you doing?
Thompson cheating on Megan, that the hot girls is going to cheat on their men in support of Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh my God!
What you think about that?
You people must be idiots.
Right there, literally. Like if you believe that just because somebody that you probably don't even know got cheated on by somebody that she probably, because she's been known to exaggerate the truth. But just because somebody else did it that you don't even know, that gave you a green light to go cheat on your folks?
Yes.
Man, what?
You people must be idiots.
Literally. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Like, Meg has nothing to do with your own personal relationship. And that's the problem. That's why you always hear me say, like, I don't care. Like, I don't even know these people, like, personally. Like, a couple people, but I don't know these people. I don't know Meg the Stallion personally. I don't know Clay personally. So I could care less about a relationship that they probably gave each other a green light to kind of go outside. And nobody, look, if you are wanting to cheat or feel like you got the green light to cheat just because Megan got cheated on,
You people must be idiots. What?
period.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Like that, she actually said that. That's a real or was she trolling?
No, it was on social media. You really posted that.
You people must be idiots. What are you?
The real women were like, "Girl, bye."
That's crazy. Yeah, like what woman or man would, if
they said, "Girl,
if
bye."
she cheated on Clay, what man would come out and say, like, yeah, let's go out and cheat? She looks pretty right here, though.
Yeah, that's natural beauty.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people.
I've never seen her without me. She looks pretty right here.
Yeah, she looks so pretty without her
Attention
makeup.
on hot girls, man.
If I was,
that's crazy. That's good.
Yes.
Cheat first.
Even Mace had weighed in. He said something too. So, like, I and then you had some people. I heard some, some YouTubers that were just like, well, wasn't this a political? I mean, not political. Wasn't this a arranged relationship, a publicity relationship?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, come on, this wasn't like the relationship looked weird anyway. It didn't look real authentic. Like, actually, I thought that Tory Lanez in there in Meg relationship looked more real than whatchamacallit. So I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe this gave you a green light,
You people must be idiots. What are you doing?
So
yeah, that's wild. That is so wild. But I'm your girl, Lauren Sizzle, and that was the Sizzle.
And that was the Sizzle, ladies and gentlemen, and we out like last year.
Peace.